building. We don't do a lot of work in here anymore. We come in every summer and we kind of maintain it. You know, throughout the winter, we're going to get a little bit of moisture in here. That's hence the black pipe and some of the sandbags, because we do have a drainage issue when you start digging into the ground like this. But we kind of keep this as is, more or less, for display. So people that drive all the way down that gravel road have something to look at. There's also a number of casts. These are casts that have come from this quarry. They've just been cast and they're in collections in various places. But there's still quite a lot here in the ground. We've got over here a couple of femora, looks like possibly a tibia, very small humerus. I have no idea what that is. That was uncovered before I started working up here. And there's also, on this side, we've got a cluster of thoracic ribs. So it's one of these sites where we have too many students in here working at once. You have to be careful because you could step on anything at any time. So when we first started doing work in here, though, we remapped everything that's currently exposed because we weren't even sure when the last time any of this material had been mapped. And after mapping it, we also set up scale bars and we took a series of photographs, a couple thousand, for photogrammetry. Okay, so we can actually stitch together a three-dimensional surface. And then, after looking at our two-dimensional grid map and our three-dimensional quarry model, if you look at preferred orientation, or look for a preferred orientation of bones that have a long axis here, it's just kind of random. However, when we start looking at it on a microstratigraphic level, every few centimeters, as you can see in the printout, there does appear to be at least a couple of different orientations as you go from the bottom of the bone unit towards the top. So that started getting us thinking about the possibility that maybe this isn't just one deposit. Maybe we have a couple of depositional events at this site. So that's something we're exploring further now, and since we're doing most of our excavating in the south building, which we'll go into in a moment, you can kind of see how we're doing that from the top down rather than coming into a building that's already, I don't want to say mostly excavated, but considerably more excavated. But we are still finding new information here. In fact, John Foster and I just had a manuscript out on this bone right here. We have a cervical vertebra to an apatosaurus, which we didn't know we had a apatosaurus here, so we can finally add yet another taxon to the assemblage. And I can't wait to continue working back this way, because I doubt there's only one cervical vertebra from an apatosaur here, so who knows. But there's no articulation, but we do have some association. The bones on the northernmost side of this building, there's a cluster of stegosaur vertebrae. Like I said, the femora we have in that southern corner of this building got some pelvic elements and some lower limb material to an allosaur, so there's kind of a cluster there. We're also taking matrix and we're disaggregating it. One of the really strange things about this quarry, on top of it having such an odd ratio of predator to prey, where it's 3 times as many predators, we don't actually have anything for microvertebrates here. We occasionally find a croc teeth. I mean, since 1927, maybe 3 croc teeth, a handful of turtle shell fragments. We don't really have much. The only other fossil we find in the matrix, we have small pebbles of bone and charophytes. So we're starting to look at charophytes here, especially in material we're collecting from the south building. How do the assemblages of charophytes, we have 4 species of charophytes here, how do they vary in abundance from the bottom of the unit towards the top? And we're also looking at the bone fragments themselves as sedimentary particles that might tell us something about transport. And what we've compared bone fragments we find here to some other sites, and we look at how rounded they are, or how weathered they are. And at some other sites that tend to be a little sandier, they all tend to be really rounded, which makes sense. They're all being transported in. Here we have a mixture. They're either really jagged or really rounded. And that to us suggests possibly some kind of seasonal reworking. We're seeing bone fragments that are weathering out, redepositing, new bones weathering at the surface. So we're starting to lean towards this being some kind of an ephemeral deposit.